If you're a seven-figure founder and you're on the edge of burnout, I'm going to walk you through 3 systems my clients use to consistently get 10 to 15 hours of work every single week off of their plates. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Brent Kocal. I run a commercial real estate services company that does just under $2 million a year in revenue, 34% profit, and the entire thing takes me about 90 minutes a week to run. With the extra time that I've created, I've helped over 650 founders get 10 to 15 hours back off of their weeks with a program that I've got to help them do those things. Picture all these different videos as little pieces to a larger puzzle. If you're working 60 plus hours a week or even 50 plus hours a week right now as a founder and you're $1.5 to $5 million, there's a lot of different things that we can plug in and put in place that are going to help you start eating some of that time away. So this video is designed to be one piece of that puzzle, and there's 3 critical systems that you'll be able to put in place after this video is over that are going to start eroding some of the busyness and reaction mode and feeling like you're always playing defense when it comes to your business. How this thing is going to be laid out is, 1, I'm going to talk about each one of the 3 systems. I'm going to show you for each system what good looks like in my experience working with all the people I've worked with and doing this for 2 decades myself. And then third is I'm going to give you a diagnostic question that's going to help you understand your own gap. I don't ever want to tell you what to do, because most of the time when people are told what to do, it's like heartbreak and resistance. Plus, you know your situation better than I do, better than anybody else does. And by asking yourself a question, you'll typically be able to find your own answer. So with that, let's dive into the 3 systems that you can install in your business that will help you get a lot of time back every week. The first is a system around time. Now that might seem really simple, but we've got to go a little bit deeper into this. When we have a bad system around time, and that's really how we get through our day, we look at it, and if your day is chaotic and scattered, meaning that you're working on a ton of different things at a ton of different times, and it's all based on reaction, where people are coming to you and you're having to respond to them, then that's really a chaotic day. And that's a good symptom to tell you that you really need a better system around your time. And when we get this right, when we fix the time system that we have with a couple of frameworks that I'll put in here, what we've got is we've got an organized and intentional day, meaning that we're more playing offense than we are playing defense. And that intention is around effectiveness of moving the business forward. And moving the business forward for the founder is really about 2 things. It's about driving revenue and about driving profit. And there are a bunch of little sub buckets underneath those things that are activities that deal with both of those. But anything outside of driving revenue and profit is stuff that other people need to be doing rather than the founder dealing with it himself. So the first thing when it comes to a system, and there are 3 things to deal with a system around time. The first is a calendar system. So whether you use a calendar or not, this calendar is talking about how you walk through your day, how you organize the tasks that are in front of you. So if you don't have any rules for your calendar system, then that's something that makes it so you need to have that in place in order to protect your time. Good way to look at it, like a calendar system is like, can people book on your calendar the same day? Can they come in and say, hey, I've got a question. I need a few minutes of your time. Can we get some later today? If your answer is yes, then that means you don't have effective guardrails within the system. The reason for this, it's kind of selfish, but it also helps out the business and it helps out the employee in general. If an employee wants to come see you that day and says, hey, I've got this thing, I need to talk to you about it today. If you're not available that day, you are going to put them in a position where they're going to have rapid growth because they're going to start figuring out this stuff on their own. When they come to you, and I know this because when employees come to me, they're looking to push the easy button. They want me to solve the problem for them rather than really thinking through and genuinely needing support. They want the answer that day. If you don't give them the ability and the container by meeting with you that day, they're going to come up with their own answer. You're going to be better off. They're going to be better off. And that's one of the ways that we go from playing defense to playing offense. The second thing in a system around time is really around your meetings. So I realized that there were a lot of recurring meetings, and I think I had 3 or 4 1-hour recurring meetings. And this was maybe 10 years ago. And I started analyzing what was it that really happened in those meetings? What was it that drove revenue and profit? Because remember, those are the only things that we really should care about as the founder of the company, and anything that supports those two things. And what I realized was that the meetings were a lot around status updates of what was happening. And so this was sucking 4 to 5 hours of my week in the meetings, not to mention what's going on before the meetings and what's going on after the meetings, because sometimes when the meetings were scheduled, it felt like there really wasn't time to get started on doing anything meaningful before, and then it took me time to decompress afterwards. So it really was the consumption of probably 10 to 12 hours a week that was taken away from doing other deep work or meaningful work that was in these meetings that were really around status updates. And so we moved to a dashboard system where I just review what's going on the dashboard, and we were able to magically get rid of those meetings. But we have to have a system around that, meaning we have to think just a little bit about it rather than go through the way that we've always been doing. If a meeting couldn't draw the line back to either revenue or profit, I cut my activity in it. That doesn't mean the meeting completely went away. It just means I decided not to be in the room anymore. And what do you know? Magically, stuff still kept happening the way that I ultimately wanted it to happen. I had to just let my foot off, or I had to take my hands off the wheel, not take my foot off the accelerator. So that is a powerful way to have a system around time. The last thing is safeguards. When it comes to a system around time, how are you protecting the time that you have? So good examples of protecting the time that you have is as simple as closing the door to your office. I think one of the worst things any founder can have is an open door policy. And I get why you'd want to do that, because it sounds like you're this, welcoming, warm, open employer, and we want to be that, right? But when you have an open door policy, that's saying your time is more important than my time. Walk in the door whenever you want, and whatever I'm working on can wait, although it's important for revenue and profit for whatever problem somebody has when they come in the door. And so that's a way that we can really safeguard the time that we have. The other two real easy ways, and these are things that need to happen more out of default mode and into directive mode, because default mode is just walking through the day, doing it however we've been doing it. But directive mode is thinking it through and being intentional about what we're going to be doing in that given day. Default mode is always having your email open and always having your phone on. Directive mode is going like, hey, I've got deep work I'm focusing on right now. And if I have email, what is that going to do? It's going to distract me, because it's either going to make a sound or it's going to pop up in a little window, and I'm going to want to get back to it. Same thing with my phone. If we shut those things off, that's a safeguard. And it doesn't need to be all day. I'm not saying you be completely unavailable, shut your door and be a hermit. What I'm saying is that be intentional around when you are accessible to your clients, to your team, and to anybody else that isn't an absolute emergency burning down or eyeball hanging off onto their cheek, right? That's the stuff where you really have to do that. So that's system number one. And I'm going to give you a question to ask yourself about this that is going to tell you kind of like really how much you need to spend time on creating a system around your time. So I want you to look at your last week. So just take the last week, whether that's a calendar or whether you just mentally review and make notes of what you were doing in the last week, and look at those actions and how many of those actions are evidence that you think other people's time are more important than your own time. Good thing about this, we can see it, right? Anytime somebody comes in and says, got a second, and then they sit down before we even answer the question, that's saying somebody else's time is more important than your time. Every time you've been working on something that you felt like was important, but decided to respond to an email instead, that's telling the person who sent you the email their time's more important than your time. Do not be nervous about not getting back to people right away, right? In my experience, and remember, this is 2 decades of experience doing this, is that people will find their own answer. They're just looking for the easy button, and when the easy button is unavailable, they will figure out a way to do it on their own. So don't be bashful about that. If you feel like time is really an issue for you because you're still working 50 or 60 plus hours a week, I've got a way that you can get 3 hours back this week, completely cleared off of your calendar and keep it off. And you can do it for free with a tool I built. I'll link it in the description below. It's called the 48-hour Founder Time Reset. With it, you get a time ROI dashboard where you're going to see where all your time is going, what's at your skill level, what's below your skill level, but most importantly, what the potential return on the investment of your time could do for your profit. It's also got a couple other bonuses in there, like a calendar cleanse, standard operating procedure, and a delegation triage board that lets you see what you've delegated, who it's delegated to, and really gives you good sight into the work that you are offloading. If you want 3 hours back this week, I'm going to drop a link in the description below this. You can download and you can start doing it for free right now. Bonus, that comes with a 15-minute live call with me where we rip 1 hour off of your calendar together. A lot of times, these problems are just too close to your face and you can't really see them. Having somebody else that's been there before look at it, I might be able to make a couple suggestions for you that will pull that 1 hour off. So download that if you're interested in getting started. But if you want to keep going forward with this video, let's talk about the next system. So this is a system around output. So every company does something, whether you're providing a product, service, experience, doesn't matter. Your company is doing something. That's the output of the company. But is it systematized? Most of the time in the early stages, it's not, because it is chaos at the start. As the founder, you're probably doing all the things all the time, really to the best of the ability that you can, and still trying to remain like human at some point rather than just turn into this robotic thing. But at some point, we've got to create a system around output. So a before and after on this one, when we don't really have any systems, and tell me if this sounds familiar in the comments, is that everybody does a little bit of everything in the company. So you've got people that you may have hired for a specific job title or specific role, but they kind of do other things that aren't necessarily for that. So a lot of people in the organization, including you, do a little bit of everything. That's a good sign that you really need a system around output, especially if everybody does a little bit of a lot of different things and they do it a lot of different ways. That means that we really don't have systems around output, which means we've got inconsistency, which, by the way, that's the way to realize that you've got a good system around the output of the company, is if there is a consistent and predictable understanding of what the outcome is going to be. McDonald's was like great at this, right? Because they took everything that was happening to deliver a hamburger to their customer, and they systematized the entire thing of output. Exactly how hot the griddle needed to be, exactly how long it was on one side, exactly how long it was on the other side of the burger, and how the kitchen needed to be to deliver it in a certain period of time. So they got consistent quality in a consistent time simply by creating this standard operation of the procedure that they were doing, which I realize is the thing that sounds super boring. I get it. It's super boring. But the boring stuff is what's going to take the time that you would normally have sucked away by the business that you could be spending doing on whatever it is you want to do. Probably why you got in business was to get time freedom. And then you ended up working more hours with more stress and more headaches than any other thing. And so the boring work is going to get you more time and it's going to get you more profit. Promise. Scouts honor. I think they do it like that. I was never a Boy Scout, but I think that's how they do it. 2 fingers up. Scouts honor. This will get you the amount of time back and it will increase your profit by doing the boring stuff. So let's talk about boring stuff. First thing is delegation, which I never realized was an actual skill, but it is. It's a skill like anything else. You try to level up on skills of the technical work of the business. You try to level up on skills of marketing, customer acquisition, sales, so on and so forth, right? But we don't realize that delegation is an actual skill. Most of the time when we're growing up as founders, really delegation means hiring somebody, praying that they take work off of your plate, and then telling that person, go make my clients happy, whether they're internal clients or external clients. It's like, just go make them happy. And we think that we've delegated that, only to find that the work boomerangs. Like, picture that like throwing a boomerang in Australia. It comes like straight back to you and you're wondering, why am I hiring people? Because I still keep all the real work. Most often, that's just a sign that there isn't a system around delegation. And I've got a quick little system on delegation that I'll share with you right now. It's just 3 Ds. The first one is doing the thing that you want somebody else to do again. I realize we don't want to do that. We don't want to spend the time doing that because it's much easier for us just to like finish something than try to teach somebody else how to do it. But we've got to do it one more time. And when we do it, we're going to document it. That's the second D. So as you go through it, the quickest way to do this and the easiest way to do this is to record a Loom video of you doing the task and just talking through in excruciating detail everything that's going down as you're doing it. And an example of excruciating detail is I'm moving the cursor of my mouse to this thing right here. And when I get to this thing, the drop-down menu has these 3 items. I'm going to select this menu item because this does this. That's a good example of the level of detail that I've found effective when you're delivering something that you want to have somebody else do again and again and not come back to you. The goal of that Loom video is to get it so they go back and reference that video rather than coming back and asking you about it. So it does take a little bit more time on the front end, but it's the difference between teaching somebody to fish and giving them a fish. You don't want to be the head fisherman of your village forever. You want other fishermen to go out there and do that, and eventually you want them to bring you the fish so you don't even have to put any effort. That's a good analogy for what it means to delegate something. And then the final thing when it comes to this, so we document, and then we demonstrate. So we take it and we do it one more time with the person that we want to have do the task for us, and we're going to demonstrate it in front of them, going through in the same level of excruciating detail. Do this once, and you're going to find that at least 30 to 50% of the questions that used to come back at you when you delegated a task don't. And that's awesome. That is exactly what we're looking for. Next boring thing is standard operating procedures. When your company is in this range, $1.5 to $5 million, most of the time, what I find with the clients I work with is their SOPs are non-existent. And it's not like they didn't know they needed them. It's they simply didn't know the value of doing an SOP. We think of it as boring work, but it actually is one of the highest value things that we can do because it's the best, absolute best way to get consistency of execution. The McDonald's example is perfect. How do we cook a burger? We cook it so long on one side, so long on the other side on a griddle that was so many degrees. And then we have so much time that we do in order to deliver the burger to somebody. We've got consistent quality, consistent timing, and that's what made them stand out from every other fast food chain that was trying to compete with them at the time that they were growing up. You saw what happened for them. The same thing's available to your business by just doing standard operating procedures. You have a massive amount of consistency, and we're talking like orders of magnitude in jumping the consistency of both the quality and the timing of the delivery and the output of the product that you have, whatever it is, product, service, experience, does not matter. You are going to have orders of magnitude jumps in those. So when you're creating your SOPs, I've found it most beneficial to think about these in layers, just 3 layers. First is content. What do you need to include in that SOP? In order for somebody that's doing it to understand your intent as the founder. What is it that you hope to have done? How does this thing that's being done meaningfully impact revenue or profit? What is the content of that? What's included? Then structure. Structure is the second layer of this. This is how it's sequenced and how it's organized. What's the easiest way for somebody to kind of get it when they're looking at an SOP? How do we structure it, and what's the organizational pull of it? What different components do we have of that that's really going to be clear for somebody so they know exactly what needs to be done every single time that you put this SOP together and they reference it instead of coming to you with the question. Again, the goal here is to get 30 to 50% of the questions at minimum that used to come to you just not coming to you anymore. Third layer of an SOP is styling, and styling matters in everything we do. No matter what your business is, the style is really important because we have a natural tendency as human beings to be drawn to things that have some unique style to them. And when it's got this unique style, we're more likely to consume it. So what does it look like? And what are the different components and modalities that we're going to have as part of this SOP? Is it going to be just in writing only? Or is it going to be something where we've got something in writing and then it's supported by video? Or is it going to be supported by video and audio because we've got people in the field and we want them to be able to listen to what they're doing while they're doing a specific task? This is the level that we've got to get to when it comes to systemizing output. It's one of the priorities that I find makes a massive jump from people that are working 60 hours a week to taking a lot of time off right away, is just standardizing their output, getting consistent quality, consistent timing of the work product. And it's something that we just overshoot because we think it's boring or we don't have time to do it at the start when we're founders. So let me give you a question to ask yourself that you can use as kind of your barometer to figure out how much real time you need to spend in coming up with a system around your output. And that's, does every decision run through me, or the majority of the decisions run through me because most of what the company does is up in my head? If the answer to that is yes, and that's kind of a convicting question, then chances are you've got some upgrades that you could make in terms of systemizing your output. Last thing that I'll tell you about a system here, this is the third system. It's a system around communication. And the good and bad of this is pretty much bad is that you never thought about communication as a system, which again, most people don't think about communication as a system. And good is that you've actually thought about it. And the idea with this is that when you come up with a system of communication, you do it once and then it pays off forever. So I'm going to give you 3 core things that I like to put in systems for communication. First thing is channel architecture. That is, where is the different pieces of communication allowed in the organization based on the type of communication it is. So like async and ops, like I'll look at Slack for that. I'll look at email for that. And generally what we're looking at is we're looking for status updates, FYIs, and maybe like non-urgent questions are going to go through those channels in the architecture. When it comes to decision making, we still look at that in terms of the channel architecture. Decision making happens in meetings, and it happens in summaries or a memo system from those meetings, memorializing the thing that we decided. And if it materially changes any of the operating things that we are doing when we have a systemized form of output, like I talked about before. So decisions happen in meetings. And then if we have any urgent things, because there's still going to be the need to have some form of urgent communication. You've got people, you've got a company, you've got clients. Sometime it's going to be urgent. And so you've got to have some channel for that. One specific path. This is my very big recommendation on this. One specific path for every urgent question. And if an urgent question comes through a channel that is not designed for the urgent question, then you got to reroute them. It's kind of like in Die Hard when Bruce Willis is on the roof for the first time and he's calling into 911 and the 911 lady is like, this channel's reserved for emergencies. And he's like, yeah, no shit, lady. Do you think I'm ordering a pizza? It's like, that's the level of urgency. 911 is there for emergencies. You've got to create some one channel solution for urgencies inside your business. Second thing, when it comes to creating a system around communication, is response SLAs, service level agreements. So if there isn't a standardization for what the service level is going to be surrounding both internal and external communication, then we've got a problem because we're back to the stage of chaos. Again, if you haven't thought about this, if you haven't thought communication as a system, that means that there's probably some room for you to improve the number of hours you work and the stress that you have if you simply systemize communication. So response time SLA. So let me give you an example of what a client SLA might look like. And this would be things that are communicated directly to the front-facing customer service people. So if we have a general request, right? Asking random question that doesn't seem to have any urgency tied around it. Let's say that's one business day. That's a simple service level agreement. We'll get back to you within one day if we've got a general request. If it's an actionable request, meaning that it's going to require some form of research in order to respond to this person effectively and get their question answered, then we can tell them that we'll get it back within 8 hours in terms of the acknowledgement and then the specific next steps that we're going to take. So for example, we might get back to the person and say, hey, I heard your request. I'll handle this for you. Please give me 3 days to get back to you and I'll do that. Here's the deal with it. They won't be mad if you're not getting back to them right away. They'll be mad if they're feeling ignored. Tell me good news, tell me bad news, just don't ignore me. And that's all you have to do with that. That's the service level agreement for that. Now, let's say that we've got emergencies. If there's an emergency that comes up, we want the response to be immediately. That's our service level agreement with our clients in my commercial real estate company. We want that response to be immediately acknowledged, and clear next steps are delivered in the immediate acknowledgement. Things that we are going to be doing, things that we're going to update them once they are done. That's really where we are with service level agreements. The third piece of systematizing communication is message standards. Message standards are really important, especially for you as the founder, because again, people will want to come to you kind of looking for the easy button and having you solve it. And really what you want is you want to reverse that easy button and have people bring to you basically a 1-foot putt, something you don't have to think about and you're never going to miss, like a little tap in. And so there's 4 critical components when it comes to the message standards, which is how communications are structured. The first is context. What's happening? So I'll tell people when I'm teaching them how to communicate within the company and to communicate with me, I'll teach them, hey, first thing you got to do is context. What's happening in this situation? And this is essentially why you're doing it. Second piece of it is ask me. Ask, what is it that you need? Okay, so we've got context, we've got ask. So right up front, we know what the context is and we know what they need. Then the next piece is the deadline, which is when do you need this by? And the last thing is the task owner. Who is it that needs to understand this information? Is it the person sending the message or is it somebody else that they are helping to serve? If you've ever gotten an email that is multiple paragraphs long and you're like TLDR, it's because this type of a structure wasn't communicated to the people who are communicating with you, allowing them to do it however they want. And however they want most often isn't as efficient as the way that you would do it as the founder. So provide a little bit of structure and everything will work out. Here's the question to ask yourself to see how much you really need to invest in creating a system around your communication. How little time do I spend thinking about communication? If you never thought about it, guess what? Now could be a good time to do that because it is going to help you. Again, little investment on the front end. Ounce prevention, pound to cure. This is going to pay off over and over and over and over again. So we've gone through a lot. Let me go through the 3 systems just to solidify it in your brain. First, system around time. We've got to be able to come up with a system of how we're going to use our time, how you're going to protect your time. That is going to be absolutely critical. Second, system around output. We want to create consistent quality and timing in the output of the product service experience you provide to your customers. And the last one is system around communication. How is it that we're going to communicate? What modalities? What channels can we use through our architecture? What's the structure of those things inside of it? All these things are just a little extra thinking around what you're doing in your company. If you're like, that sounds awesome, I want to do that, but I don't have any time to do that, get 3 free hours back this week with my 48-hour founder time reset, free tool, diagnostic, and helps you execute to understand where your time is going, the potential return on the investment of your time in terms of cash. It'll show you that. If you get a little bit of efficiency gain, you get a couple other cool tools with that. You can download it for free. If you want to talk about the whole thing, which is what I do in helping people get 10 to 15 hours a week back in 90 days, that's called the Founder Freedom Engine. I'm going to drop a link to that below too. You can watch a video, learn everything you need to know, see if you qualify for that program because there is a revenue and profit and number of hours that you work requirement for that program to really work for you. But I'll put a link in the description if you want to check that out. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I'll see you on the next one.